In every home, there's a corner that rarely gets attention. Quiet, unobtrusive, just part of the backdrop. But in the language of Feng Shui, that corner may hold more power than your wallet or your work calendar. It is where the energy of wealth either enters gently or gets blocked silently. You won't find it listed in your bank statement, but it influences how much flow enters your life, how opportunities show up, and how your intentions take root. And in today's video, we're going to bring your attention to that exact space, your kitchen's wealth corner, and show you how placing a single living green plant there can recalibrate the prosperity energy of your entire home. This isn't about superstition, it's about structure. It's about understanding how subtle environmental signals shape your fortune before you ever notice. A plant may seem like decor, but when placed correctly, it becomes a catalyst. It harmonizes the invisible conflict between elements, corrects imbalances between fire and water, and most importantly, becomes a living symbol of your readiness to receive, grow, and protect abundance. The kitchen is not just a functional space, it's the engine room of your household's energetic economy. This is where transformation happens, where raw material becomes sustenance, where fire meets nourishment, where water flows to support life. And when there's imbalance in that ecosystem, it doesn't just show up as burnt food or spoiled ingredients. It shows up as fatigue, indecision, unexpected expenses, and stagnant wealth. That's why today we're not going to talk about remodeling. We're going to talk about recalibrating. Using the ancient logic of Feng Shui, I'll guide you to identify the most strategic area in your kitchen to place a plant. Not just any plant, but the kind that stabilizes your finances, uplifts your energy, and restores quiet equilibrium to your space. So imagine this. The far left corner of your kitchen, as seen from the doorway, becomes more than empty space. It becomes a conductor. When you place a plant there, a healthy, vibrant green plant, you're not just decorating, you're introducing the wood element. And in Feng Shui, wood doesn't just represent growth, it represents mediation. It absorbs excess water energy, nourishes fire when needed, and restores a natural cycle of flow. A plant in this spot acts as a bridge between chaos and rhythm. It doesn't ask for much, just light, care, and presence. But in return, it begins to shift the field around it. Slowly, quietly, the space begins to breathe. And so does your life. Throughout this video, I'll walk you through exactly which plants to choose depending on your home's elemental imbalances, the specific placements to avoid if you want to prevent energy leaks, and the care rituals that transform your plant from an object into an energetic anchor. I'll also share a powerful story involving a well-known public figure whose quiet kitchen habit with plants has become one of her most stabilizing rituals for success. By the end of this episode, you won't just see your kitchen differently, you'll understand it as a living energy field that either supports or stalls your goals. Before we get deeper into the structure, I'd love to ask for your support. If this kind of grounded, practical Feng Shui wisdom speaks to you, if you find value in learning how your space is quietly influencing your life, I invite you to help us grow this channel. A single like, share, or subscribe allows me to continue sharing this knowledge with care, precision, and thoughtfulness. My goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers so that this message can reach more homes and more hearts, and your one small action makes a big difference. Now let's begin. Let's walk into your kitchen, not just with eyes open, but with energetic clarity. Let's find the corner that's been waiting to be activated. And let's place something there that grows, not only in soil, but in meaning. Because when you learn to work with space instead of against it, even the smallest plant can become a powerful signal that you are ready to welcome prosperity, not with luck, but with structure, not with force, but with flow. Let's get started. Why the kitchen represents wealth in Feng Shui. In classical Feng Shui, the kitchen is never treated as a purely functional space. It is the alchemical core of the home, a zone where raw material becomes sustenance, where the body is fed, where the future is nourished in, and where every element from the 5 phases, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, interact, clash, or harmonize. It is not exaggeration to call the kitchen the energetic engine of transformation. The stove introduces fire, the sink introduces water, the fridge and other appliances carry metal, and the food itself contains wood and earth in varying degrees. But this convergence is not inherently balanced. In fact, most modern kitchens are unknowingly built on contradiction. The stove and sink are often too close, causing fire and water to collide. Cold, metallic appliances often dominate the visual field, creating sharp energy that unsettles the natural rhythm of nourishment. Lighting is either overly harsh or far too dim. The result? An energetic field that is reactive rather than responsive, scattered rather than serene. And when this space becomes energetically unstable, the effects ripple beyond digestion. They reach into your finances, your clarity of thought, your capacity to plan, and your emotional resilience. It is not uncommon to see households where the stove never functions properly, where takeout replaces cooking, where the sink is a site of constant frustration. And behind these physical imbalances, you'll often find unstable income, delayed decision-making, in a general sense that things are out of rhythm. The ancient masters of Feng Shui understood this connection not by theory, but by observation. They watched how the household's wealth changed with the condition of the hearth. They noted that when the kitchen was ignored, so too was the flow of prosperity. When fire raged unchecked, tempers followed. When water leaked or overpowered, emotional fluidity turned to worry or stagnation. But when balance was restored, when each element could express itself in the right proportion, life began to flow again. And among all the remedies used to restore this dynamic equilibrium, one proved both the simplest and the most elegant: a living green plant. Why? Because in the elemental cycle, wood is the one element that harmonizes water and supports fire. Water feeds wood. Wood fuels fire. A plant placed with intention doesn't just bring beauty. It absorbs excess water energy, transforms it into life, and offers that life to the fire element, stabilizing both. In this way, it becomes the quiet diplomat in the elemental negotiation happening every day in your kitchen. To visualize this more clearly, imagine your kitchen as a kind of vault, not a container of money, but of energy. Every meal cooked, every cup of tea brewed, every dish washed is part of a transaction. Fire transforms, water purifies, metal cools, earth stabilizes, wood bridges. When the vault is well designed, energy flows in, is received, held, and grows. But when fire and water dominate the space without mediation, the vault leaks. Energy escapes, tension builds. Food becomes functional instead of nourishing. Meals are rushed. The act of cooking becomes a chore instead of a ritual. This isn't simply bad design, it's energetic discord. And left unchecked, it creates a kind of low-frequency static that bleeds into every financial decision made in the home. This is why the placement of a plant, seemingly so small, matters so much. It is not decoration, it is recalibration. A healthy green plant introduces wood qi, which is upward, growing, and life-giving. In an environment where fire and water compete, wood acts as the peacemaker, absorbing the excess emotion of water and providing fuel for fire without allowing it to dominate. This balancing act restores rhythm to the space. It settles nervous energy. It quiets the mind. It stabilizes appetite, both literal and symbolic. People begin to eat more mindfully, spend more consciously, and approach problems with a sense of flow instead of friction. It's also important to consider the subtle message a green plant sends into the room. In any environment, the subconscious reads vertical growth as forward momentum. A plant rising from soil or from a pot into space says, "We are growing, we are reaching, we are stable, we are alive." Contrast this with dead zones in the kitchen, unlit corners, piles of mail, broken containers, empty shelves. These spaces speak of pause, hesitation, neglect. The plant corrects that. Its presence activates the message. This space matters. This nourishment matters. This life matters. And that message gets absorbed not just by the environment, but by everyone who walks into the kitchen. Moreover, from an energetic behavior standpoint, a living plant changes how people interact with the space. You water it, you notice it, you tend to it. That action, however small, is a declaration. I care for what feeds me. That alone is a profound act of wealth consciousness. Because when you begin to truly care for the energy that sustains you, it begins to respond in kind. Money starts to feel less elusive. Decisions become clearer. The daily rhythm smooths out. And from the outside, nothing may have changed. But internally, the current has shifted. The kitchen is no longer an arena of chaos. It is a system of coherence, and the plant is its conductor. In summary, the kitchen in Feng Shui is not just a physical location. It is a symbolic hearth where your life is either stabilized or scattered. It is where elemental energies compete or collaborate. Fire cannot be left alone to rage, nor can water flood unchecked. Metal cannot dominate, nor can earth be absent. The only element that gently bridges them all is wood, and the most accessible form of wood energy is a living plant. When placed in tenshipon, in the correct zone and cared for with consistency, this plant becomes more than green decor. It becomes a structure, a signal, a partner in your daily ritual of wealth creation, not through force, but through alignment, through balance, through quiet, living rhythm. And that is the deepest logic of classical Feng Shui, not to control the environment, but to co-create with it, to give each space the conditions it needs to thrive, to allow each element its rightful expression, and to know that when your kitchen becomes a vault of harmony, your life begins to mirror that structure back. That is when fortune stops feeling accidental and starts becoming designed. Finding the kitchen's energetic wealth corner. To locate and activate the energetic wealth corner of your kitchen, according to classical Feng Shui principles, you must begin not with intuition, but with structure. The energy within your home doesn't move randomly, it follows form. And in this case, the simplified Bagua map, one of the most accessible tools in the Feng Shui system, offers an immediate key to understanding where the qi of prosperity either anchors or escapes. Stand at the threshold of your kitchen, not necessarily where you cook, but the main entrance into the space. Whether it's an open floor plan or a framed doorway doesn't matter. What matters is your orientation. From that point of entry, extend your awareness toward the farthest back left corner of the room. That is the wealth position. This area governs not just financial flow, but the emotional tone that surrounds your decision-making, your relationship with sustenance, and your household sense of resource stability. This corner is more than a place. It is a structural metaphor. Just as the back left corner of your thoughts represents long-term planning, this space in your home represents stored potential. But for it to function properly, it cannot be passive. It must be prepared, cleared, and intentionally calibrated. Most people treat corners as visual dead zones, places where unused tools accumulate, where trash bins are tucked discreetly away, or where things are placed to be dealt with later. But in Feng Shui, a forgotten space becomes a stagnant space, and stagnant space cannot support growth. So before introducing any plant or energetic enhancer, this area must be stripped of dead weight. Begin by removing anything that doesn't serve the rhythm of nourishment. Empty containers, broken tools, unused appliances, or cleaning products that were simply placed there because the spot was convenient. If the area houses your trash bin, it must be relocated. Wealth cannot rise in a space where decay is centered. Once the area is physically cleared, clean it thoroughly, not just with soap, but with energetic intention. Use a cloth soaked in warm water infused with citrus peel and coarse salt. Citrus activates yang energy, and salt absorbs stagnation. As you wipe the surfaces, move your hand with a circular motion, clockwise, as if winding the qi back into motion. This is not superstition, this is structure. You are stimulating energetic circulation by engaging the earth element, through touch, through movement, and through cleansing. Next, enhance the vitality of the corner with one of 3 optional activation methods, each serving a different aspect of qi stimulation. The first is sunlight. Open nearby windows, reposition curtains, or place a reflective object that bounces natural light toward the space. Sunlight brings fire qi, which activates growth, uplifts mood, and signals to the subconscious that the space is alive. The second method is movement. Set a gentle fan nearby or place a reed diffuser that disperses scent. The purpose isn't fragrance, it's flow. Moving air stirs stagnant qi, especially in tucked corners where energy tends to become heavy. The third method is elemental containment. Place a small, open dish of unrefined salt in the corner for 3 days to absorb residual negative frequencies. After that period, discard the salt outside your home, ideally by grounding it into soil or flushing it with water. This represents full cycle closure. Only after the space has been cleared, cleaned, and subtly activated should you introduce the plant. The plant must be chosen intentionally, not too large, not excessively trailing, and not overly sharp in shape. Think of this placement not as decoration, but as declaration. I know where the wealth of this household begins. I tend to it. I design for it. I create conditions where it can grow. The act of placing a plant here is not to fill space, it is to seed space. You are offering the element of wood not as an afterthought, but as a functional ingredient in a living elemental equation. And once it is placed, your responsibility does not end. This corner must remain clear. Nothing should obstruct the plant. Do not allow it to become surrounded by paperwork, kitchen clutter, or neglected tools. This is not storage, it is altar. What begins as a design choice becomes an energetic contract. Your kitchen stops holding chaos and begins holding clarity. The qi begins to reorganize itself around growth. You will likely begin to feel it even before you see external results. Small shifts in how meals are prepared, how decisions are made, how money is approached, and how your home feels at different times of day. These shifts are not imagined, they are responses. Because when you give energy a structure to live inside, it stops scattering and starts supporting. And when your kitchen's wealth corner becomes a place of upward, living motion, you are no longer waiting for prosperity. You are cultivating it. You are anchoring it. You are aligning with it through design. And the plant becomes the simplest yet most profound proof that you know how to hold that alignment. That is not magic. That is mastery. That is Feng Shui. The right plant matters. In Feng Shui, not all green plants carry the same energy signature. Just as colors, shapes, and textures influence how qi moves through a space, the species of a plant subtly instructs energy on how to behave once it enters. Choosing a plant for your kitchen's wealth corner is not simply a matter of aesthetics or personal taste. It is a symbolic act of placement. You are not placing a plant, you are placing a specific kind of message. That message either invites growth, balances emotional tension, anchors discipline, or opens space for vision. It is not about picking something pretty. It is about matching intention with structure, energy with expression. So when choosing a plant for this specific location, where fire and water already intersect and where prosperity is meant to root, you must select one whose energetic behavior mirrors the kind of wealth you're ready to hold. Let's begin with one of the most universally recommended plants, pothos. Pothos, with its cascading stems and heart-shaped leaves, carries the metaphysical energy of gentle, adaptive expansion. It doesn't grow vertically with intensity like bamboo or create sharp outlines like aloe. Instead, it flows. Its tendrils seek light and space slowly, subtly, but persistently. In the language of energy, this makes pothos a symbol of wealth that unfolds over time. Investment income, long-term partnerships, creative ideas that require nurturing. The heart-shaped leaves serve a second, equally important purpose. They signal that the wealth being invited is not purely transactional. It's tied to emotional resonance, to fulfillment, to relationships. A pothos in your kitchen corner says, "Let the abundance that comes to me also nourish the heart." Place this plant in a clay or ceramic pot for grounding, and avoid hanging it too high. Let it rest at mid-level, eye height or counter height, so its energetic invitation is felt, not just seen. Next is the coffee plant, a lesser used but deeply symbolic botanical ally in the art of energetic architecture. While most people think of coffee in terms of caffeine or morning routines, the plant itself carries rich metaphysical attributes that align beautifully with themes of entrepreneurial growth and energetic alertness. Coffee plants symbolize repeated value, harvest after harvest, bean after bean, from one tree over time. In Feng Shui, this mirrors a kind of wealth that doesn't arrive all at once, but through sustained effort and refinement. This plant is ideal for homes where someone is starting a new business, pivoting careers, or recovering from past financial instability. It says, "I'm awake, I'm rebuilding, I am investing in momentum." With its glossy leaves and rhythmic growth pattern, the coffee plant adds not only the wood element to the kitchen, but also a refined version of earth chi, a grounding presence that knows how to hold energy with patience. Place it near indirect light, in a simple pot without distracting patterns. Let its presence remind you that the success you're growing is rooted in clarity and discipline, not speed. Then there is Anthurium, a striking plant with waxy, often red blooms that are both visually and energetically bold. This plant represents dignified fire, but unlike wild or uncontrolled fire, Anthurium holds fire in containment. Its energy is regal, controlled, protective. In kitchens where emotional heaviness lingers, perhaps after a period of tension, grief, or uncertainty, Anthurium serves as a corrective. It stands tall yet invites softness. Its upright blooms direct energy upward, encouraging momentum without chaos. The plant's red coloration in Feng Shui is associated with luck, vitality, and material courage. When placed in the wealth corner of the kitchen, it reignites chi that has gone dormant. It says, "Enough stagnation. We rise now." However, care must be taken with Anthurium. It requires warmth, attention, and consistent watering. That mirrors the kind of wealth it supports, visible success that thrives only when nurtured with respect. This plant is not for the passive. It is for those ready to take leadership in their own lives, and for those who are prepared to maintain what they've built. And finally, we come to the snake plant. Structurally, it is unlike any of the others. Its sword-like leaves shoot straight upward, their green bodies often trimmed with sharp gold or silver edges. At first glance, it seems aggressive, but in Feng Shui, this shape signifies strength, protection, and sharp discernment. The snake plant holds a unique place in the energetic spectrum because it carries both metal and wood qualities. The verticality and form reflect metal, precision, boundaries, logic. The growth and color reflect wood, vitality, upward motion, flexibility. In kitchens with a history of fiery dynamics, frequent arguments, impulsive behavior, sudden spending patterns, the snake plant offers a stabilizing counterforce. It says, this space is protected. It helps create energetic discipline. It keeps wealth from scattering, especially when households include multiple people with conflicting energy signatures. Place the snake plant in a tall ceramic pot to enhance its stature and to ground its strong vertical push. Avoid overly ornate containers. This plant speaks best in simplicity. It's not about flair, it's about structure. So how do you choose among them? First, ask yourself, what kind of energy does my kitchen need most? Is it fluidity? Go with pothos. Is it resilience and reinvention? Choose the coffee plant. Is it commanding presence and energetic fire with grace? Then anthurium is your ally. Is it discipline and shielding from chaos? Let the snake plant stand tall. And of course, if your household needs more than one of these, you may layer them, provided each plant has space, light, and is not placed in competition with one another. Because in Feng Shui, plants are not accessories. They are instruments. Each one plays a different note in the symphony of your space. And when chosen with clarity, placed with intention, and cared for with presence, they don't just grow, they teach. They mirror your commitment. They stabilize your vision. And they reshape your kitchen from a place of routine into a place of ritual. Not spiritual performance, but energetic architecture. And that's the difference between a house that holds stuff and a house that holds fortune. So choose the right plant, not just to beautify, but to symbolize, not just to soften, but to structure. Because in the end, your wealth corner won't just reflect what you put there. It will reflect who you are becoming as you tend to it. And that is the real Feng Shui. Not magic, but design that remembers how energy speaks, how energy listens, and how energy grows. Activating the plant. A plant by itself is a passive presence. It will grow if conditions are favorable, fade if neglected, and continue to exist without ever becoming something more. But in Feng Shui, the purpose is not to fill your space with passive symbols. It is to animate the objects around you with purpose, with energy, with coded instruction. To do that, you must shift the plant from object to instrument, from decor to declaration. That transformation begins not with aesthetics, but with activation. You are not just placing a plant in a corner. You are inviting it to work on your behalf, to hold energy, to redirect flow, to stabilize chaos and magnetize prosperity. And that requires a moment of deliberate, energetic alignment between you and the living thing now serving your space. Begin with a saltwater cleansing, not just for hygiene, but for elemental reset. Combine 1 teaspoon of coarse natural salt with a small bowl of filtered or spring water. The salt represents Earth's mineral intelligence, the ancient memory of boundaries and stability. The water in this context is not for hydration, it is for purification. Gently dip a clean cloth or your fingertips into the mixture and lightly rinse the leaves of your plant, top and bottom, moving in a downward direction. As you do, release any residual frequency from commercial nurseries, transportation, or previous placement. You are not just wiping away dust. You are stripping the energetic residue that does not belong to your home. Then, with a soft cloth or paper towel, pat the leaves dry. Do not rush. This is a moment of introduction. You are touching your plant not as an owner, but as a partner. You are initiating a relationship, one that will evolve with answer, intention, and response. Once the plant is clean, the second layer of activation begins. Cut a small piece of parchment or sturdy paper. On it, write a personal affirmation, a concise phrase that expresses the type of energy you want this plant to hold, cultivate, and reflect. It should not be generic. Let it carry an emotional clarity. For example, wealth flows here, I honor what grows. Or this home is ready to hold abundance with ease and grace. Write this affirmation slowly, mindfully, with the understanding that your words are not wishful thinking. They are energetic instructions. Fold the paper once and place it beneath the plant's pot. If the pot is too heavy to lift, slide it partially underneath. The point is not visual, it is vibrational. You are anchoring thought into form, giving language a place to live. For those ready to deepen this ritual further, consider aligning your plant's first watering with the lunar cycle. The new moon marks the start of the yin-yang transition. It is a time of quiet potency when intentions root deeply and begin to influence upcoming phases. On the night of the new moon, prepare a small bowl of water. Into it, add 1 thin slice of fresh ginger root and 3 coins, either Feng Shui coins, ancient replicas, or any coins with symbolic value to you. Ginger, with its warming catalytic essence, introduces the fire element into the water. It awakens what has been still. The coins bring in ancestral connection and the frequency of prosperity, 3 being the number of movement and creation in Feng Shui's cosmology. Let the water sit uncovered for 3 hours in a quiet, candlelit space if possible. Then strain it and use this infused water to gently nourish the plant. Do not drench. Water slowly, with reverence. As you do, speak softly or internally. May this plant carry my intention. May it hold what I am ready to receive. May it translate my care into clarity, my structure into support. This act may appear simple from the outside, but energetically, you have now linked 3 powerful layers: elemental purification, affirmation embodiment, and temporal alignment. You have transformed the plant from a passive feature into an active participant. It now carries your imprint. It holds your words. It remembers your ritual. And in doing so, it becomes a stable field of energy that will begin, over time, to influence how the space around it behaves. You may notice the shift first in how you feel standing near it, more composed, more focused, more rooted. And over weeks, you may see changes in your financial consistency, your clarity around spending or earning, even the tone of conversations held in that part of the kitchen. These are not coincidences. They are energetic responses. And they occur not because the plant is magical, but because you treated it as meaningful. Activation is not performance. It is partnership. When you take time to clean, affirm, and attune your plant to a higher energetic role, you send a message to your home and to yourself that you are not waiting for abundance to find you. You are preparing for it. You are designing for it. You are living in alignment with it. And that, in the truest expression of Feng Shui, is the first step in becoming magnetic, not to fantasy, but to flow. Not to luck, but to living, breathing structure that holds fortune in place and teaches it where to grow. Keeping the energy fresh. In Feng Shui, care is not a task. It is a form of energetic dialogue. Once you've placed and activated your kitchen plant in the wealth corner, the relationship doesn't pause. It evolves. A living plant is not a static symbol. It is an antenna, picking up environmental shifts, absorbing the emotional tone of your household, and constantly interpreting the balance or imbalance of elemental forces around it. Keeping the energy fresh is not just about aesthetics or maintenance. It's about reinforcing your original intention through ongoing alignment. The plant continues to hold the structure you gave it, but only if you remain in relationship with it. Neglect becomes a message. Presence becomes a multiplier. And subtle cues, if ignored, often reflect and even predict energetic stagnation in your own prosperity flow. Begin with physical care that speaks energetically. Every 7 days, ideally on the same day of the week to build rhythm, gently wipe the leaves with a cloth soaked in either orange peel water or mint-infused water. Orange represents Ruiyao and upward yang energy. It stimulates motion, refreshes stagnant qi, and acts as a citrusy reset. Mint, on the other hand, clears heat and disperses tension. It's especially effective in kitchens with heavy fire presence, such as those used daily for cooking or households where family dynamics can feel combustible. The act of wiping each leaf is not just cleansing, it's connection. You're clearing not only dust, but the weight the plant may have silently absorbed on your behalf. You're restoring shine, breathability, and visibility, not just for the plant, but for your intentions as well. Don't stop there. Speak to the plant. Yes, with your voice. Feng Shui practitioners and sound energy experts across disciplines agree Qi is highly responsive to sound frequency, especially human tone. When you speak with care, your voice carries vibration into the surrounding field. Tell the plant it's doing well. Thank it for holding space. Remind it of what it represents. You are helping us grow prosperity. You're strong. You're beautiful. Thank you for holding the wealth energy of this home. These aren't affirmations, they're acknowledgments. Your plant is not ornamental, it's responsive, and your words become part of its energetic memory. This practice, repeated consistently, begins to shift your own posture toward wealth. You start seeing abundance not as something abstract or far away, but as something living with you, growing quietly in the background. As long as you keep showing up for it. Placement, of course, still matters. Even a healthy plant can carry disrupted energy if located in the wrong microenvironment. Never place your kitchen plant above the stove. This is where fire is most aggressive and unstable. The heat, smoke, and volatile qi create a hostile atmosphere for the wood element. Similarly, do not place your plant near the trash or in the same visual line as waste bins. Trash bins are zones of active decay, yin-heavy, downward dragging, and energetically incompatible with any object meant to symbolize upward growth. If your plant is forced to share visual or spatial alignment with decay, it begins to conflict with itself. You are telling it to grow while surrounding it with release. That confusion creates energetic distortion, and over time, the plant may reflect it physically. This leads to one of the most overlooked aspects of ongoing care: observing signs of stress. Yellowing leaves, wilting, unexplained browning at the edges, or even unusual pest activity. These are not just signs of neglect or humidity imbalance. In Feng Shui, plants are absorbers. They take in not only light and water, but emotion, speech, and unresolved tension. If the plant you've placed in the wealth corner begins to struggle despite regular watering and sunlight, don't just fertilize, investigate. What happened recently in the household? Has there been a major financial worry? Is someone harboring resentment or self-doubt related to money? Has the rhythm of meals or rest changed? Very often, the plant is trying to tell you what your body or mind has not yet fully processed. Its illness is a mirrored expression of your internal dissonance. If this happens, do not panic, but do respond. Begin by revisiting your original intention. Sit quietly in front of the plant, breathe, and reaffirm your message. Clean the leaves again. If needed, repot with fresh soil, ideally during a waxing moon when new growth is energetically supported. Consider placing a small, clear quartz crystal in the soil to amplify clarity and protection. And if, after all this, the plant still doesn't recover, it may need to be replaced, not because it failed, but because it completed its energetic cycle. Do not view this as loss. View it as transition. Thank the plant for its service. Remove it with respect. Clean the space. Choose a new plant with fresh intent. This is the natural rhythm of energy. Build, receive, sustain, release, renew. To keep this relationship vibrant, create a care schedule that feels ritualistic without being burdensome. Weekly, wipe the leaves and speak. Monthly, water with a herbal or fruit-infused mix, such as rosemary for protection or basil for wealth attraction. Seasonally, prune and reassess placement based on sunlight changes. Yearly, revisit your affirmation and rewrite if your goals have evolved. Treat these practices not as chores, but as recalibrations. Your kitchen's wealth energy is not fixed. It grows with you, it listens to you, and it reflects you. Because in the end, a plant doesn't just sit in your corner, it sits in your field. And it teaches you daily how to tend to the subtle things. Attention, patience, rhythm, care that eventually shape the larger ones. Abundance, clarity, peace, and purpose. When you give your plant what it needs, it teaches your home how to give you what you deserve. That's not wishful thinking. That's structured flow. That's living Feng Shui. A kitchen anchored in clarity. Michelle Obama's Rituals of Space. In the realm of energy design, very few public figures embody the blend of structure, presence, and purpose as consistently as Michelle Obama. Her public persona, often praised for its elegance and discipline, is not just a product of media polish. It is rooted in a deeper internal architecture that extends into her private environment. Nowhere is this more evident than in her kitchen, a space she has long treated not as a backdrop for utility, but as an energetic anchor point, a place to reset, recalibrate, and restore rhythm. While the world sees her as an icon of resilience, the mechanics behind that steadiness are deeply connected to how she interacts with her physical space. In a lesser-known behind-the-scenes moment shared by her private chef, we learn that Michelle insists on a few very specific details in her kitchen. A small green plant placed deliberately in the back left corner, a white ceramic bowl filled with fresh lemons, and a clear, uncluttered counter space that faces morning light. None of these items are there for trend or aesthetic decoration. Each is placed with intention. Each holds symbolic and energetic function. When asked about the reasoning behind it, she simply said that this particular corner feels like a reset button. This statement is not just poetic, it is deeply rooted in the principles of classical Feng Shui. In the simplified Bagua map, the back left corner of any room, as seen from the main entrance, represents the wealth and abundance zone. In the kitchen, this spot takes on amplified importance. The kitchen is already a high-energy zone where fire from the stove, water from the sink, and metal from appliances often compete for elemental dominance. If left unbalanced, the energetic tension in this space can manifest as digestive issues, misaligned schedules, unexpected expenses, and emotional agitation. When Michelle places a green plant in this location, she is instinctively introducing the wood element, the natural mediator between water and fire. In elemental theory, water nourishes wood, and wood fuels fire. By allowing wood to exist here in the form of a living plant, she is creating a bridge. She is not suppressing energy, she is guiding it, but it goes deeper. The plant itself, depending on species, serves multiple functions. A pothos offers soft trailing energy and emotional soothing. A snake plant creates upward motion and boundaries. An anthurium stabilizes fire and commands attention without aggression. Michelle's choice, though not publicly disclosed, is described as deep green, low maintenance, and always healthy. These traits suggest a preference for energetic steadiness over flamboyance, a choice that reflects her personal leadership style. In energy terms, a healthy, consistently cared for plant in the kitchen's wealth corner serves as a living mirror. It reflects how we manage what we've been given. It grows or withers in response to our patterns. And when it is stable, it stabilizes us. Then there's the bowl of lemons. From a Western perspective, lemons are associated with freshness, cleanliness, and clarity. But in the language of symbolic energy, lemons do far more. Their vibrant yellow color corresponds with the earth element, stability, grounding, nourishment. Their strong scent carries both yin clearing and yang activating properties. And their placement in a ceramic bowl made of clay or porcelain reinforces the earth energy while also offering containment, a key concept in Feng Shui. Without proper containment, energy dissipates. A ceramic bowl, round and smooth, becomes a vessel that holds not just fruit, but frequency. The fruit itself decays slowly, releasing a subtle scent that activates appetite, memory, and movement. In Michelle's kitchen, this bowl is not about food storage. It is a passive generator of vitality. The location of both the plant and the fruit bowl in her kitchen is strategic, not just visually, but energetically. By placing both in the wealth corner, she creates a layered activation. The plant brings life force. The lemons bring brightness. The ceramic bowl brings containment. Together, they form a triad of intentional design: wood, earth, and fire elements in balance. This setup, when repeated daily, does more than brighten the room. It sets a tone. It sends a message to the subconscious. This is a space where things grow with purpose, where clarity is cultivated, where energy is not left to chance but invited with care. Michelle's approach may appear minimal, but in Feng Shui terms, it is highly refined. There is no clutter. There is no overuse of symbols. There is precision. And that precision allows the space to breathe. It transforms the kitchen from a place of reactive activity to one of proactive coherence. It becomes a sanctuary within the home where decisions are not just made, but made well. Where meals are not just cooked, but infused with calm. Where morning routines begin with structure instead of stress. The plant doesn't do this alone, nor do the lemons. But together with light rhythm and respect, they build a container that holds not just food, but flow. This is not an isolated practice. In interviews and memoirs, Michelle has frequently spoken of her need to go to a place to get her mind right, whether that's a walk, a journal, or her kitchen. She doesn't wait for clarity. She creates it. And this mindset is precisely what makes her an ideal case study in practical energetic design. She doesn't need complex rituals or esoteric symbols. She relies on rhythm, presence, intention. She designs her life the way she designs her home, with function, beauty, and clarity in equal parts. You don't need the White House kitchen to do the same. You don't need a private chef or custom cabinetry or high-end appliances. You need awareness. You need to look at your kitchen and ask, what in this space supports my clarity? What brings ease? What reminds me to start over? The answers won't always be found in design magazines or Pinterest boards. They will be found in your habits, in what you place and why, in what you keep and how it feels. When you see your kitchen as a space that reflects, not just prepares your life, you begin to treat it differently. You clean more often, not out of guilt, but to preserve clarity. You reduce clutter, not for minimalism, but for mental space. You add greenery, not for trend, but for energetic buffering. The lesson Michelle offers us is not about replication, it's about recognition. Recognizing that space speaks and that you get to decide what it says. You get to decide whether your kitchen echoes chaos or intention, whether it fosters momentum or fatigue, whether it becomes a vault of clarity or a drawer of distraction. By placing a single plant in a bowl of lemons with care, Michelle teaches us that small, tangible actions, when repeated with reverence, become patterns. And those patterns shape perception. And that perception, day by day, shapes reality. You don't need her budget. You don't need her chef. You need her mindset. You need to honor your kitchen as the sacred container it already is. Not because you cook gourmet meals, but because this is where energy enters, is transformed, and is distributed to the rest of your home. When you align that space with your values through simplicity, intentional placement, and ongoing care, you build not just a beautiful room, but an energetic engine for peace, purpose, and prosperity. That's not abstract, that's architecture. That's the Feng Shui of a woman who designs her inner world as intentionally as her public one, and who leaves us with a blueprint for clarity that begins with just two things: one green plant and a bowl of lemons placed where the light can reach them. And now that you've seen what that structure can do, the only question is, what will your kitchen say about you tomorrow morning? Because your space already speaks. The only thing left is whether it echoes who you are or who you're becoming. And that answer lives quietly in a corner you now know how to see. Final, you don't need a vault of gold to feel secure. You don't need to chase luck to feel abundant. What you need is a space, one space, that knows how to hold energy with quiet precision. A corner that reflects your readiness to grow. That single green plant in your kitchen's wealth corner isn't just about attracting fortune. It's about remembering the nature of fortune itself. Real abundance is not loud. It doesn't arrive in chaos. It doesn't beg for attention. It roots itself in care. It grows slowly, deliberately, and only where the environment supports it. That plant becomes more than decoration. It becomes a teacher, a mirror, a measure of return. It reminds you that wealth isn't something you wish for. It's something you cultivate, not through intensity, but through intention. Not through excess, but through structure. You begin to notice how you touch it, how you speak to it, how you care for it. And in that care, you begin to reshape your relationship with all forms of prosperity. When you water it, you're not just nurturing a plant. You're practicing consistency. When you clear its leaves, you're not just removing dust. You're making space for clarity. When you place it where light reaches, you're telling life, I am ready to be seen, to grow, to expand. That is where true Feng Shui begins. Not in theory, but in pattern. Not in symbols, but in choices repeated. The plant grows as you grow. It responds as you respond. And one day, without noticing the shift, you begin to feel steadier in your finances, clearer in your decisions, more grounded in your rhythm. You didn't change everything overnight. You changed one thing with presence. And that opened the door for everything else to begin recalibrating. So here's my gentle invitation to you. If this video helped you see your kitchen in a new way, even just one insight, I encourage you to take one small step today. Maybe you choose your plant. Maybe you wipe down that back corner. Maybe you simply sit with the question, what energy am I growing in this home? Whatever you do it without clarity, because clarity invites flow. And if this message resonated with you, if it brought you even one moment of reflection or renewal, I warmly invite you to share it with someone you care about. Leave a comment below. Let me know what spoke to you. And please consider supporting this journey by liking this video, subscribing to New Day Mindfulness, and helping us reach our next goal of 2,000 followers. Your support allows me to continue sharing practical, grounded Feng Shui wisdom that doesn't just decorate your home, but reshapes the way you live inside it. Thank you for being here, for growing alongside me, and for choosing to turn one quiet corner into a source of living, breathing wealth. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, tend your space, trust its feedback, and remember, prosperity doesn't knock, it roots, and today you've already made space for it.